Good morning, and today's going to be Pocket Jacks. We are short-handed at this 10-NL game. We just got 6. So play starts with a limp. I have Jacks. I ISO raise here. And big blind calls, and then a limper fold. So I think our hand's just well and good enough for an ISO raise. And if we look at the ISO raise, we've got the always ISO in dark blue, the optional ISO in the lighter blue. I think in a short-handed game, I'm probably just playing the always ISO here. It's going to be stronger, higher cards, more, fewer weaker cards, I should say. Fewer weaker cards that might get me in trouble. But jacks are there. We're going to ISO raise, and then we get a call. We've got 6 hands on this player. Not a whole lot. Right now he's played half the hands, 3 out of 6. We do have some notes on him. So we have called 2-bet from the blinds range with jacks, 9s, kings, queens. So I think pocket pair plus the Broadway hands minus 3-betting range. We see that he's 4-bet with queens, so I'm going to assume the 3-bet range could be queens plus ace king. And then I threw in the aces. And the reason for that was I have a raise first in from him with a7 off. And he did that middle position, so kind of, to me, it kind of makes sense that he might have like his aces, a6 hands, and maybe not all of them. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's just those, the better ones. I'm going to leave him in, make it a little bit bigger. I'm also going to give him the suited connectors, suited one gappers. Again, just basically based on his VPIP playing half pot. He might not have these at all, or like the 9s. But we're going to leave him in. And I think this is all that I could really justify at this point. Yeah, it's 50%, but 6 hands. We only have 6 hands on him. So we see a flop of 6-2-2, which is actually pretty good for us. So we can't imagine that this is connected. Definitely isn't going to connect with us a whole lot, but our range is definitely going to be stronger than this guy's range. I think when he checks to us, we are planning to bet. We should be betting, I believe, most of the time. Yes, we don't have many draws, but we do have a lot of overpairs. So 31% overpairs, which means we're going to have to balance that with basically everything else that we have. Like your ace high hand. All right, all your aces, your overcards, 2-card backdoor flush draws. I mean, just if you're restricted just to 2-card backdoor flush draws and your overcards, I mean, you're at. I think the overcards get most of them because of the offsuit hands, but you can see we're basically going to be c-betting 100%, and I think that's probably right. We're going to attack this guy's range because he's got a lot of these hands here that just miss. So I do believe we're betting 100%. On this, probably need to go larger on the larger bet size. Kind of really make it a mistake for him to call with junky hands that could catch on the turn to beat us. So I'm kind of thinking 2/3 is what we probably should be betting. I did bet. It looks like that. I bet 2/3, which I like. And villain calls. So the question is, what is he going to call with? We don't really have any stats on how he responds to a c-bet. So let's just kind of work through it and say, okay, we bet high. He might not give us credit for anything, so it's possible that he might just call with a pair. So we've got, basically any pair plus is 23%. May call with the ace high hands. Since if he has an ace high, it's going to be less likely that I have an ace. What do you call with all of them? Would he call with all of them, though? Or would he just call with backdoor flush draws, or just call with like broadways? Say he calls with all of them. And then for the overcards, I think we'll give him like the kings. And we'll go from there. So 77%, which is good. I mean, he's calling with hands that we beat. We should be ahead right now. So 2 comes out. Pretty good again. So he's already called once. I mean, there's no reason to think that we are behind to him. So at this point, I don't think we're going to be betting everything. I think since we bet 100%, we're going to now back off. So let's see here. I don't think we're betting a flush draw at all. Not with 3 2s up there. So I think with these, I think Jacks is probably kind of in the middle of betting and checking. I think these are probably going to be checked, but then we're going to go for some value with aces, kings, queens. I mean, if he has aces, kings, or queens, then so be it. We have a note on him that he doesn't necessarily 3-bet with them. But I don't think we can necessarily play our hand thinking, oh, well, he might be, we might be against queens or kings or aces. He hasn't showed us anything to suggest we might be. So I think with those, the overpair, I think we've got those, and then we're going to have to find some bluffing hands. And I think these are just going to be hands that really have no shot at winning whatsoever. 10-9, Jack 10. I don't think those have any chance of winning. Like your queen highs probably don't have any chance of winning. Maybe even your king highs, a king 10. I think something like that is what we're going to be betting, which gives us 50-50. Only betting about 27%, which is probably right. If we check, let's go back to here. With these overpair hands, if we check, we're probably going to be calling a bet on the river if we have, like, with our jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s. So I think with, we can bet with our jacks here and then check behind. I think that's probably what we're going to be doing. We bet half pot. That's probably okay. I think that we're probably sometimes betting larger, maybe. I think half pot's probably a minimum. He comes back and calls, and at this point, I can eliminate. I'm pretty certain I can eliminate all of those aces. So at this point, I think possibly, he could be checking just quads, with the ace 2. Definitely the full house, quite possibly. So he could have 6s fulls, could have the overpair, could have, top pair. Would be calling with those. Maybe even like a pocket pair below the top pair. But I don't think he's calling with anything else. So his hand tightens up as well. So once he calls, I think we're pretty close. And you can see it pretty close in equity, 51%, 49%. So ace of spades comes out, not that great. But quite frankly, if he eliminated all of his aces on the turn, then he shouldn't have any. And it should just be pocket pair versus pocket pair. So he checks, and I think we check behind because it's just half and half. I don't think he's probably not going to be folding. So I guess if we look at what he calls with, he's going to call more than 50% of the time with hands that we beat. So this might argue to bet again, bet half pot. I checked behind, so maybe that was a mistake. And the question is, if I bet one more time, is he going to call with like 3 4s and 5s? Maybe he doesn't. And if he doesn't call with those, and if he only calls with like, ace X, top pair plus, then we're in bad situation. So he checks behind. We get showdown. We both show jacks. So we split it. So he had jacks. It was one of those hands. I'm not sure if we needed to bet that river, but it's good to know that we actually have. We worked it out. So I better move this. We worked it out so that he does have the hand in his range. So let's get a note here. So he called to your cutoff, 5 big blind, ISO, raise in big blind with jacks. So jack hearts, jack spades. Oops. It's out of position. Check called 66%. Check called 50%. Check on 6 clubs, 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 of clubs, ace of hearts. All right. So I think on here, question that I had would be, really that river. Should we have bet or not? Kind of mixed. Yeah, we split the pot, and I always wonder, if I bet, could I have picked it up? Could I have won it? By getting him to fold. I don't think he's going to fold jacks. I think they're too strong. But would he? If I bet, would he have called with these weaker hands? Because that's really what's gonna make it a profitable situation. Because anytime we make a value bet, we want him to call. If he calls more than 50% and we win, then, or let's say if he calls and more than 50% of the times we win when he calls, then that's a value bet, and it's profitable for us to make that bet. But if he calls and we're losing more than 50% of the time, then that's a bad bet. So let's go ahead and check GTO. Already went ahead and ran it and got it set up. So program the check first, his check. So I wanted to check bet sizing, and it looks like we're evenly split, but for the most part we are betting 100%. So I was right on that, and I feel strongly that is the right play. Our range was stronger, tighter than him. He's going to have weaker hands. This board isn't really a board that's going to connect a whole lot. So we bet larger, which is appropriate, and neither bet size is favored. So we bet larger on the larger sizes. Question if he raises, what do we call? Because you can see that we're betting a lot. So against a thinking player, you're gonna see this board and say, well, this board misses me, misses the pre-flop raiser a lot too. So if there's a c-bet, let's just attack them. So if we get attacked, what do we do? And it looks like we're not really raising. Jacks are definitely a raise. Kind of interesting that we actually had the jack hand, but we are calling then with like the ace X hands, some king queen. We're getting rid of some of the weaker hands, but we're definitely calling. So anyways, we bet, he calls. So that's appropriate. He still has jacks now. He is supposed to be raising, supposed to be attacking. So you can see kind of some of the hands that he's attacking with: the twos, the quads, trips, 5-4. That's interesting. You've got that, some gut shot potential. That's, I'm sure, is a bluff um, situation. So he calls, and two of clubs comes out. So he checks. Now we bet 64% of the time. So we're still betting. I wasn't that high. I wasn't nearly that high. Um, but GTO's having us call with the overcards as well. Whereas I was kind of just calling with, including these as kind of like our bets. He wants us to, GTO is still wanting us to bet 60% of the time. So need to bet more of them. He calls. So again, based on GTO, he's going to be playing that. And then those pocket pairs and the ace. So he checks us, and now GTO still wants us to bet. And with the jacks, we are favored more bets because I bet if we bet, GTO is expecting these hands to call. So yeah, that's what GTO is expecting. Is that realistic? Can we really think about that? Yeah, possibly, but I think exploitatively, I think three bets is going to be difficult for anyone to call. And I think once that ace comes, people are going to get spooked because I could have easily have been betting ace king ace queen, and I think people think about that a lot. They think ace king ace queen gets overplayed, which it does. I can overplay it at times, but once you bet with ace king ace queen, I think a more likely situation then is a check on the turn. So if it bets the flop, checks the turn, and then comes back and bets the river, then you should be alerted to it. So overall, I think, in terms of how I played the hand, it was fine. But based on GTO, I think our turn range, we need to be betting more. And I think we were right here with the still all of the pocket pairs. GTO still wants us to be betting those. So if we're betting all of those over pairs, then we are going to have to, find more hands to balance with it. So that's going to be our ace high, queen high, and so forth. And that gets us closer. All right, so hopefully you enjoy the hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.